Hey, Hotep and greetings. Akoma. It's Montsho. I'm rocking with Out in the Washer right now. And I wanted to really talk about a reflective principle or idea that I have been seeing in sessions over the last couple of weeks. So, over the last several weeks, as we've been working with a lot of people, we've been hearing this idea, this concept that, oh, I put everybody in front of myself. Oftentimes in discovery, we'll ask people, what do you think is your weakest relationship trait? And oftentimes we hear people say, oh, I just put myself last all the time. I focus on other people, and I put myself last all the time. And I've learned over the years that people believe by saying this that there is some honor in that. They believe that there's some valor in saying, it really speaks to the mindset that, this ethos that, it's better to give than to receive, take care of everybody first and then take care of yourself. Even you hear parents say, I'm going to give, my children everything I didn't have. Well, that's absolutely impossible, because unless you go get it, you still don't have it when your children come. And so you have to nurture yourself first, right? And so in the Akoma Soul acronym that we echo all the time, SOUL stands for self and others understanding love systems, understanding love energy, right? You cannot give anything that you do not have. I can beg you all day for $150. If you only have $10 in your pocket, all you could give if you wanted to was $10. And I wouldn't even suggest that you give all of what you have. You could say, hey, I can give you $1 on your way to that thing, because I want to preserve, reinvest, and reproduce the energy and the resources that I have. And I want to say this as a therapist. This is the therapist me talking to you. The therapist in me would say, actually, this idea is really a reflection of low self-esteem. It's really a reflection of low self-worth. And it's an emotional immaturity that makes a person think it's honorable to enter into a relationship where I'm only a giver. A lot of sisters I see take this, some brothers too, but I see a lot of sisters take this approach and say, and try to flip it on people and say, oh, dude came along and he just played me, or he took from me, or whatever, I'm a victim. The reality of the fact is that a giver draws takers only. A balanced person draws balanced people only. So now, if you're balanced, you're going to draw someone who understands the reciprocal energy of give and take. But if you're just a giver, you attract takers. And don't be mad at takers for coming to take. You know what I'm saying? This is the reciprocal energy of who a taker is. Oh, you a giver? I came to take something. If you ever been in any environment where people are giving away something, most of the people, and you drive by, you see a long line of people that are like, oh, they giving away turkeys, or they giving away whatever. Those people the people that's in the line to get a turkey, they not coming to give nothing. They coming to get, because you are announcing that you are a giver. But what I also know as a therapist, over time, what this produces is a self-bitterness that then gets projected onto the other person as if they were supposed to understand, or you had a silent agreement that they were going to give at the same propensity that you're giving. Nobody said that. You the martyr, remember? You the one who just given. So now don't be a victim. Stay in your role if that's who you want to be. But I think that if we can dispel this myth that it's somehow honorable to just be given, and that we can be more balanced, because now the culturalist in me will tell you this, my brother Rock Green. The culturalist in me will tell you this. That is a Western concept that was taught to black people, but never embodied by the people who oppressed them and took from them. They tell you at Christmas, any holiday, or whatever, it is better for you to give than it is to receive. And the person who told you that took everything that they could from you. They took your religion, they took your name, they took your language, they took your land, they took your ass and moved you somewhere else and had you in servitude. So this idea that it's better for you to just give somebody, it's really a psychological problem, and it's emotionally immature. It's immature. So I know you think that you sound really benevolent and altruistic, but you're like a neon sign as a dysfunctional person, because what is going to happen in a relationship is that for a relationship to be electric, for it to be thriving, for a person to be able to get the juice of life out of a relationship, they have to be in both roles. They have to be in the role of a giver. In other words, the person who is receiving from them values what they're giving. And I'm here to tell you, most people who talk this "I'm only a giver" stuff, they can't even recognize the value of somebody else giving to them. Somebody else is just listening to your crazy ass, and you can't even understand that you're being listened to because you talk so much. Or someone else is giving you the time of day, the attention that you're deserving, but you use this martyrdom of "I'm a giver" as an attention seeker. And so it is really, listen, I was in session today with 2 clients. And I told them, look, now these are people who've been working with both of us, so they kind of started the package working with Nawasha, and Nawasha, it's like, oh, Nawasha's amazing, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, now you're dealing with me. So, Nawasha's better than me at a lot of different things. But I'm going to get that self-deprecating, self-annihilating, and self-neglect out of your ass, because it makes you weak as a partner. It makes you undesirable, whether you're a man and a woman. And I'm here to tell you, a lot of the brothers who are Captain Save-ems, I've been one of these type of brothers with a low self-esteem, and we gonna go out here and just save somebody. Get off of that. That sister doesn't deserve your energy more than you do. And I will say that for a lot of us, this is an indirect way of nurturing ourselves. And this is where relationship education skill comes into play. Because we don't know how to heal our own traumas and nurture ourselves, we take on this energy like, oh, I'm just going to help everybody else. If I help everybody else, there's a deep-seated if-then belief. And if you work with us, we always talk about core beliefs and showing you how to manage the 2 types of core beliefs and how to change core beliefs. Because if you don't change core beliefs, you're going to take 1 step forward and 15 steps backwards, right? And so you'll never be getting anywhere, because even though you say you want something, your core beliefs are antithetical to your desire. And so your behavior becomes counterproductive to your own self, right? So I'm saying, bro, don't save her, save yourself. Sis, don't save him or be a martyr for all these people and think at the end, this is a cultural idea that has been promoted by white supremacy. It is a deep, profound psychological trick that is making you think you're better off in the world if you give everything you got and don't keep nothing for yourself. You are just as wicked as the biblical story of the man who held on to his talents and he didn't give them for fear of losing them. And when the master came back, he had the most talents. The ones who had the least sold their talents and they reaped bounty. The one who had most hit him because he was fearful that he would lose his talents. And when the master came back, he was angry and penalized this one for not following through with the directive that he was given. So in that biblical story, You are the master and you are the servant. The God-given gifts that you have, you better know in your practical life where you need to give and where you need to receive. And you are a fool before the eyes of righteous humanity if you are sitting around here talking about, I ask people all the time, so what's your greatest weakness in relationship? Oh, I just give. I'm just really give. Oh, you mean you don't know how to pick people? Oh, you mean you have low self-esteem? Oh, you mean you batshit crazy? Say that. And don't say, oh, I'm just a giver. Because there is a miseducational idea around this concept that people are trying to make themselves feel better by giving. And it is actually a psychological deflection technique. It is a way of hiding emotionally because you just don't want to admit that you do not know what you are doing. The science of relationships cannot be made up. Hear me, black people. The science of relationships cannot be made up. They can only be taught. So now, if you have not had cultural initiation, if you are not working with therapists, I'm not talking about social media personalities that all have an idea about it. Everybody with a nose and a butthole got an opinion. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a person who is trained in the art and science of relationships, that understands the dynamics that are going on. You need support. You need support. And it's not a weakness to get support. You don't jump under your hood and say, I got something to fix, so I'm just going to go on YouTube and rebuild my carburetor. Yeah, some people do that. Some people actually have an affinity to fixing cars, so they do that. But the majority of us say, oh, is something wrong? Let me go to a specialist. Because out here, we got a lot of generalists, but in life, we all go to a specialist. Is something wrong with your foot, Rock? And you messed up? You may go to your general doctor, but guess what? He's going to send you to a specialist, a podiatrist, to say, let me look at your foot. And I say that to one of my clients is a podiatrist, so you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking to you. But the point is, this self-deprecating idea that I only give and I never get back, what I give. Like, well, then you a fool. You just a fool. Give me all your money. Give me your check. Give me everything you got. Take your clothes off. Give it all to me, because that's what you like. You like that. You know what I mean? You like being a fool before the eyes of the world, and you think that there's honor in it, and it is absolutely not. So I'm saying with love, I'm being facetious slightly, but I'm saying with love, please stop doing that. Get some help. If you are a person who finds that you are always giving and never receiving, then I'm here to tell you, my friend, my brother or sister, I'm here to tell you sincerely, as a therapist, as a cultural healer, I'm here to tell you there is some fundamental things about the art and science of magnetism, reciprocal energy and relationship, and how to make yourself more of an appealing partner to increase your magnetism by having balance. Because let me tell you this, just like with children, everyone respects somebody that will say to you occasionally, no. I am actually able to facilitate this request, but I am unwilling to do it because XYZ. This is very, very critical in the psychology of relationships, because there's a high level of respect given to a person that you know innately moves with a boundary. Now, a reference for this, because I'm always culturally centered, is white folks. We deal with white folks in a certain way because A, our historical interaction with them, but B, we expect, project, and always receive, or most of the time receive. There is a point at which they will not go beyond. And so this is why you can see us very relaxed in a certain way when we're with each other. They come around and Yes, good morning, Jeff. How are you? Because we are putting a boundary in the dispensation of our personality, our thought, speech, and action, because we know we're dealing with someone who has an internal boundary with us, right? And so I'm not saying that we have to be cold and impersonal in our intimate and personal relationships, but I'm saying every parent, if you're a good parent, you're teaching your child virtues and principles, but you also are demonstrating for them boundaries. Now, if you're a good friend, you're telling your friend when they right, and you telling your friend when they wrong. You giving to your friend, but you want people around that you can take from too. In the intimate relationship, there is no honor, absolutely none, in just being a giver. So you can take that false doctrine to one of the coasts, the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, and jump in it with that. Throw that away. Kill it. And if you need help killing it, turn to us, because we have a series of ways to help you cognitively restructure those belief systems and then develop new behavior so that you can really, really show up differently in the world. Now, the final thought that I'm going to say is this. Here is where a lot of people shoot their toes off. There is a silent expectation that if I give you, you should give me the same thing. And this is not really true. Sometimes what you get in the night doesn't give back. The day gives back. And what do I mean by that? What I'm saying is that oftentimes the people that you give to are in your life because they're receivers. They're not there to give you anything. So don't be mad at them because they're not giving. What you need to develop is a court of people that represent balance in your life. So if you got 3 or 4 or 45 people over here, you better at least have 5, 6, 7, 8 people over here that give to you, so that when you're giving to other people, you don't deplete yourself. Nawasha taught me something many years ago that that she learned in her initiation. And I then learned it later in a later initiation. When I look back, I really found out that I had learned it long before I knew her, but didn't have a practically applicable place to use it. And that's this. It's called living from the overflow. And I know Shola Arewa had taught this to Nawasha. I know Queen Afua and many other grandmaster teachers that have taught us this. And what does that mean? You have to apply the moral, ethical principles and values and laws of Ma'at to yourself first, because you can't give something that you never have. This is why I'm very critical of people who talk about relationships, but they got whack-ass relationships. What are you basing what you're saying on? It's theory. And in the social media era, everybody can prop themselves up as if they're a specialist, and they really have no specificity. And worse yet, they have no skill. It's just that for most people, you can't discern the difference between who is really qualified and who just talking some shit on social media, right? And because social media is like 8th grade, where your popularity can determine your how far you go, how much money you make. So if you got 40 million, it's some people out here got millions of followers. They talk about relationships, they not even in one. But this shows you how foolish and how unaware the majority of us are. So this is why we need a cultural dynamic where there are elders and young people and others to be present to vet who is actually talking to you. In African culture, nobody who is not in a relationship is qualified to come before the opposite gender and talk about relationships. Now, men can talk to men and women can talk to women. But if you come out here and you're talking to men and women about relationships and you're not in one, the elders will sit your ass down. And you are disqualified to talk that way because you don't represent the fact that you are embodying the actual principles that you're talking about. Now, I'm a therapist, and I know a lot of therapists, right? Many of them are black, and they mean well. They're highly trained, and they want to help black people, but they don't have a cultural paradigm. So we are taught when we're in school, if you're in sessions and a person is asking you, well, what about your relationship or whatever, we're taught to deflect them and tell them that is not what the point is here. And now there is some truth to that, because you want to stay on topic, but black people are very wise, even in their most dysfunctional state. If you ever been on the street and you ran into a crackhead, you can get the wisdom of the ages from a crackhead, right? So we're very, very smart. Black people understand. I'm sitting in here. Now, I'm training some therapists now. I'm sitting in here and I'm talking to a 25-year-old person who got a PhD, and they're telling me about relationships and they ain't in one. Or you got people out here, y'all know who I'm talking about. You got millions of followers, you the godfather, your ass been divorced twice, and you haven't had a successful relationship that has gone past 3 or 4 years. And the 2 marriages you were in, they divorced you. And so now you would like to say that something's wrong with them, right? But if that is true, the best way to show that something is wrong with them is to show and prove, as we're taught, that something is not wrong with you. And you should be able to do that by the relationship you create. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to work together like me and Nawasha do. We're both therapists. We both got the same master's degree. We're both initiates. We both have the same initiatory experience in rites of passage from men and women. But if you are out here speaking, we should be able to point to, in fact, that this person is actually in a relationship that is thriving, because all of us who are in relationship understand that for black people to navigate a relationship in a hostile Western psychology value system environment is difficult. It's not easy, especially if you don't have community around your relationship to help you to weigh in the balance the things that you're dealing with in relationship. Because the new trend that comes out can have impact in your relationship if one of the spouses gets caught up. If something is, COVID or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? So these things are real things. We have to have community in order for relationships to thrive. We are from the enslavement mindset that says what happens in our relationship, we keep in house. That actually comes from slavery. I don't want to divert from that, but anybody challenge me on that, I can give you a whole thesis of how that ideology, what happens in our house stays in our house, comes from slavery. Now, I'm not saying that there's a part of your relationship that shouldn't be intimate, because there is a part that is not for anyone. Your parents, your children, your siblings, your friends, your family, the intimate couple, there is a nucleus. If you imagine a relationship as a cell, there is a nucleus of the relationship that should not be for anyone else. But if you know biology, you know the nucleus is the seed, but it's the smallest part. The cell walls, the boundary of the cell, and then the meat that is in between the nucleus and the cell walls, that's the majority of the relationship identity, the cell identity. That's the community. And if you don't have that, you're just a nucleus running around here talking about we're preserving ourselves, and you're sure to be taken over by a hostile environment. So that, I don't want to divert from that, but I just want to say to you, as I move to close, that it is imperative that you divorce yourself from this concept. Now, if you want to test it, go take that concept to white people, because they are masters at taking without giving. So they'll take from your ass for the rest of your life. Go to them and say, I just want to give and I don't want to take anything. They invented that concept. It's called slavery. So if you want your relationship to be slavery, then take that idea and think you're going to get some brownie points and the mystery God is going to reward you when you get to the pearly gates of heaven, that you were a martyr and you were just poor and you didn't require anything from yourself. I'm telling y'all, black people, it is 100% a slavery teaching that you need to get out of. We need to have balance. And the way relationships move and change through the cycles of our life and through the times that we are in, if you've been in a long-term relationship, like my brother Rock Green that I see, I was there when he got married back in the 90s. Damn, how many people do you know that got married in the 90s and still married and still love their spouse? But if you got married in the 90s, you have been through so many life changes that you are certainly not the person who you were when you got married. Outside of the marriage, just because we change every 7 years as an individual, let alone as a unit, let alone if you have family, let alone if you have challenges, which you're going to have, let alone if you have children, let alone if you have work, let alone if you're dealing with the hostile environment. Come on, yo. And you just going to be a giver? You'll be dead if you don't take some stuff for yourself. And your partner will dry your ass up. And then when they done, they'll step off and say, it's not really working out anymore because you don't really care about yourself. And I want somebody who really cares about themselves, like you. And you're like, wait a minute, I put all my energy into you. Well, yeah, I took that and thank you, but I'm not really feeling that. I want somebody who loves themselves too. So I'll get up. Thanks for the help, but I'll get up. You know what I mean? And so we don't want that. We don't want that environment. We want reciprocity. We want balance. We want harmony. We want order. We want propriety. We want justice. We want truth. These are the virtues that our work is based on. The 7 virtues of Ma'at. You know what I mean? So you really, 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 I don't care how well you're doing, how bad you're doing. Many of us don't recognize it because we're living in a kind of dreamy state consciousness. But anybody who is even lasting, you are being educated about relationships. You're being educated about what to do, which is slim to none. But more importantly, you're being educated about what not to do. And that education is you're not making that up. You're drawing your virtues and principles and even your beliefs from the environment around you, whether it's your parents, your family, people that fraternal orders, workplace, people you respect, pop culture, celebrities, whatever it is. You are learning what to be and what not to be, not by your own ideas, but by the community around you. It has been that way since the beginning of time. The original God set it up that way. So to be successful in relationships is never going to happen if you close your door and we try to figure this shit out on our own. You will kill yourself or kill each other in the process. Now, if you don't believe me, look at the state of our people. You think that all of these people out here didn't think that they could do this by themselves? You think that they didn't think that they didn't want to win? Nobody invests themselves into another person and then just destroy themselves in the relationship. Nobody does that on purpose. But what happens is we get ourselves into situations and then it becomes, evidently clear. You don't really have the skill set to deal with this shit that we're dealing with right now, and neither do I. So now we got to do our best to try to make it work. And what's going to happen is, more times than not, because we're so emotionally immature, somebody's going to check out. Now, they're going to check out physically, or they're going to check out emotionally and psychologically, where they just be like a shell of a person there, and then you feel that disingenuousness and you feel those energies like, my husband here, but this joker ain't really here. Or my wife is here, but she ain't really with me, you know? So it's kind of like, where you been? What you doing? Who that on the phone? You know, looking at each other's phone and all this kind of stuff, because you know deep down inside that your relationship is not thriving. This happens for most people who start, especially in today's world, within the first 4 months. Like after the 3-month honeymoon period, you know, and I'm telling you, we've worked with thousands of black people all over this earth. No lie. You can see the proof. We got hundreds of testimonials from the people. In about 4 months, we in trouble, because I said this last night to a couple that I was working with, and I'll close on this. In about 4 months, this usually happens. Your partner's desire to know you more intimately supersedes your ability to share it. Let me say it again. Your partner's desire to know you more intimately supersedes your ability to share it. Third time, the person you're with, wanting to know you on a deeper level, on the most deepest level, is going to start poking, prodding, and asking of stuff that you don't really have a context for. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I try to say it 3 times because I know 3 is reality manifestation. But let me give you a practical, salient example that you can bear witness to. And just throw up a 1 in the chat if you could bear witness to this. There comes a time in about the first few months where a person, everybody knows themselves, right? You know yourself better than everybody else, but everybody else can see you better than you can see yourself, because you have what we call in psychology associated view of yourself, and everybody else has a disassociated view. For practical reference, like I can see your butt. Human beings can't see their own butt without a mirror or whatever. I can see the top of your head. If you see a black person that can see top of their head, then you might want to you might want to back up a little bit, because what kind of eyes you got? But if I tell you, Rock, hey Rock, you got something on the top of your head, you're going to brush it off because, Montsho can see my head and he's my man. But we know I can't sit here and say I know Rock better than he knows himself. I can just see him from a disassociated view. So let me give you the practical reference in the intimate relationship. About a little bit past 3 months, one partner turns to the other and say, hey, listen, I noticed that you do XYZ a lot, or you say XYZ all the time, or whenever I do or say this, you react this way. Why do you do that? And most of the time, like the couple said last night, somebody snaps and they will first deny and say, no, I don't. Or they will answer with a little bit of tone and irritability, because why? The person is speaking to uncomfortability where an insecure reaction is called up. Why? Because you just revealed something that I don't even know. When the partner probes a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper, why are you always doing that? Why do you say that? Why are you acting like that every time XYZ happens? What they're doing is teaching the other person what they actually look like. The other person doesn't see what they look like. They know what they feel. But when you go a deeper level and you ask them why, the truth is they just don't know why. And that's why it's uncomfortable to face. That's why it's uncomfortable to look at. And so if you think that you're going to sit in your room and figure this shit out on your own, you're going to be old and washed up, and you're going to be the only person you're going to be able to mate with is the leftovers of society. You ain't going to be cute no more. Your butt going to start sagging. You can't do 159 push-ups in 2 seconds. All of these things. Nobody's going to want to have a child with you. Nobody's going to want to have real life investment. You can be a cup holder till somebody dies. So I don't want to be by myself. So I just keep you around because shit, I only got 15 more years anyway. So let me just, ride it out. I'm telling you as your brother, you don't have to work with me in the Washa, but I guarantee you we are one of the best in the world in culturally based counseling and consulting. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. Look us up. Look at the reviews. Look at everyone else, what they got to say about us. Anybody, I can send you 30, 40, 50, however many you want, 150 people that have worked with us. I can give you their information and they can tell you themselves. To all my therapist friends, you all are amazing. You are doing well, but you have to get some cultural initiation because all that clinical psychology and psychiatry that we are learning is Western based. My sister is a psychologist. I was on the phone with her yesterday. We talked all the way up until she had a session. And she was like, Montsho, I'm about to just get out of this shit 100%. She got like 4 or 5 degrees and she's got a successful business. I am telling you, Black people, if you don't get cultural initiation, all that education won't change nothing. This is the new hustle where all people are trying to get healing. Me and Nawasha are going to do a video to talk about the 3 elements of healing. So you can see what cultural healing looks like and the trauma healing that we all need. But after that, you better get some relationship education. And the shit ain't coming from YouTube. It ain't coming from Kevin Samuels. And it ain't coming from nobody out there who ain't really living this stuff or haven't been trained in a culturally dynamic space. And no disrespect to Kevin Samuels, but I'm just saying. This is a very interesting time because you ain't going to go to no fat people about how to get in shape. You ain't going to go to no broke people about how to make money. But anybody will go to somebody who ain't in no relationship, who's never even been. Listen, if you haven't been in a relationship for like 7 years, you are absolutely unqualified. If you haven't been in a successful relationship for about 7 years, you are absolutely unqualified to be teaching other people about relationships. The reason being, every 7 years, we go through a significant change in our psychology, in our physiology, and in our emotional dispensation of our personality. AKA, most relationships can't even make it 7 years for this reason. Because the rigors of the first 0 to 7 years are all about dependency. And most relationships are swallowed up because they cannot, the main thing is trust. Not just infidelity trust, but trust in are you going to be consistent? Trust in are you going to be virtuous? Trust, are you living by the principles you say? Trust, are you going to show up as who you said you were? Trust, do you have the skill set to deal with the 2 things that destroy most relationships in the first year? The harmony of styles, because men and women are totally different, but then Montsho and Nawasha as 2 personalities, or whoever your name is and your mate, they are also different. So in order to be in a successful relationship, you got to harmonize styles. And there's a lot of idiosyncrasies and little tendencies that we have that at first will become cute, as Nawasha says, and then in a short period of time, they will drive you insane. So Nawasha said, in the beginning, you could be like, I love that cologne. And at the end, soon as I smell that shit, it'll make me throw up. That's how that happens. So 1 is harmonizing styles. You got to have that. And I would say that's number 2. Number 1 is you have to have excellent communication. That has nothing to do with how verbally eloquent you are. It has nothing to do with, as brothers say, I'm giving the hardcore truth and you can't just take the truth. Or as sisters say, I'm pouring out my heart and I'm just telling you my entire heart. None of that shit means that you have good communication. What good communication is measured by: the ability to contextualize your thoughts and emotion in a harmonious way, to create mutual understanding as a bridge, but it's verified by unified action. Those three things. If you can't do that, I don't care how eloquent you are. You can be an MC, you can be a poet laureate, you could be whatever. I don't care how many books you wrote. Our clients are doctors, lawyers, authors, business people, regular people too, but we deal with what could be called the talented 10th of the black population. So these are the people we deal with. Last year, our number one client was physicians. Okay. Also, Rock and the others that's out there, my son is one now, correction officers was our second number one client across the country and even some across the world. I'm like, damn, we got correction officers from other countries now that are clients. Because of the hell that they go through, it becomes hard to come home. And how was your day? Oh yeah, I've seen somebody murdered and raped and all kind of craziness. And you want to know how my day is. How do I decompress? How do I process these things? And how do I separate myself from that and share and be able to give and take in a mutually cooperative relationship? That's challenging. And if you can't execute it regularly on a high level, you're going to destroy your relationship, or you just become ghost partners. Like, how they say ghost writers? You just become ghost partners. We live together. We got 4 children. We got a big, beautiful house, but emotionally, we're just ghosts. Boo! I'm just floating around the house. You floating around. We run into each other. You scared me. Boo! You know what I mean? So you don't want to be that. You want to have excellent communication. You want to have the ability to harmonize styles. And then I would say the third skill would be the ability to overcome conflict. Those 3 things are the things that kill most relationships. And here is why. Those skills you cannot figure out on your own, because you have to be Wolverine and be able to live multiple lifetimes. The reason you can't figure it out on your own, relationships are dynamic and they're happening fast. You have to have some answers before the problems arise, because when they arise, they're so emotionally potent. If you don't have the verifiable, tried and true right answer to deal with it, you're going to lose an emotional point. And the more you lose an emotional point, an emotional point, an emotional point, an emotional point over the years, your partner just checks out. They just check out. Now, they'll stay with your ass because they too fat to be with anybody else, or you got money tied into your investment properties, or you got a business together, or the ultimate business, you have children together. So they will stay with you physically, but they will automatically check out of the relationship. This is, now, 7 out of 10 of us are unmated and can't seem to find sustainable relationships, which is embarrassing before the world. We are the parent people, and now all of a sudden we have lost our moral, ethical, and cultural compass so much that we can't even do the most natural thing that we were God-given, created to do. But we get in that bag though, but our ass is fat, and check out our new hat and these outfits that we got in these social media pictures though, right? Or I could do 18 million push-ups in 14 seconds. But our children running around out here crazy as hell. And they are besieged upon a group of families. McDonald's, Starbucks, Sprite, whoever, AMC movie, Nike, whatever they're spending their money on is a group of family legacies. And they will tell you in a minute, because my youngest client is 4 years old. My oldest client is over 70. And they say the same thing. Their life is fucked up because of their parents. Excuse my language. Because of their parents. You can't hate the person you had a child with and think that that hate is not festering in the child. You're out of your mind. I see people try to X the other parent out like they don't even exist. All of you psycho sisters that won't let these brothers have contact with their children, or some of these men who think because you get remarried or whatever, we just going to erase the mother out of the picture. That's like murdering your child emotionally and psychologically. There is no other impactful dysfunction with children today other than that. The discord of the parents, whether they're in the house or out of the house. Me and my sister are therapists today because our beautiful parents did not get along, and they stayed together thinking we need to stay together for the children. But they stayed together and they didn't develop skill. So it was hell for us growing up under their leadership because they didn't like each other. And after a while living like that, you stop liking yourself. If you see that you're committed to someone who you can't get along with and you're making a conscious effort, a conscious decision to mate with them, how could you feel good about yourself? Your self-esteem begins to plummet, which brings me 360 degrees back to the point at hand. This idea that you are serving someone else more than you are serving yourself is an idiotic, culturally alien, emotionally immature, psychologically dysfunctional idea. You ain't getting no brownie points from me or anybody with some sense in their head. If you want to be a slave, there are countries all over the world who are looking for slaves today in so-called 2021. Go find one of them and go find you a person. It's all kind of psycho white men that will lock you up in the basement and feed you goldfish every once a week and beat you and have sex with you and do all of that. If that's what you're looking for, to be a slave, and you just want to give and not receive, then go do that. Men or women. These dudes will take, just look at them all. All you got to do is watch one of them ID channels. You'll see all of them. They out here. It's still a bunch more of them out here. They'll take you, as Kane said, 80 blind, cripple, or crazy. They'll take you. So if that's what you're looking for, go for that. But if you are looking for the Maatian exchange, a cultural understanding, something that is a reflection of your nature as a black person and how we show up around the world, and you're ready to thrive in your relationship, not just live in it, not just talk some lip professing jargon, but you're really looking to elevate the station of your relationship with full reciprocity, where you're a man and you're learning and understanding that women are totally different than men and they were created to be such. Stop trying to change her. If you want to have a relationship with your homeboy, just say that. But your wife ain't going to become your homeboy. Sisters, men are made totally different than women. We are not your girlfriends, and we're never going to be. Just because we go into the mall with you to buy shoes or whatever, we can usually skip that as much as you could watching the game with us. But if you are a brother who likes fashion and stuff like that, and you don't mind going to the mall, cool. If you are a sister who's into games or whatever, cool. But just know and understand that we are best friends in a complementary energy of the second law of magnetism. The first law of magnetism says like attracts. The second law says unlike attracts. We are the divine sacred union of black man and black woman is on the second law of magnetism. The first law of magnetism you share with your best friends and all of those people who you love dearly, who you see yourself in, or you see some quality in them that you like and want to have close to you or want to embody yourself. But the man and woman energy is the metaphoric lock and key. The next time you enter into your home, for a second, look at the key and look at the lock. Look at how different they look. Look at how different they function. They're not opposites though, because opposites oppose one another. The root word in opposites is oppose. They are actually complements. They are made for each other. And they only work at their best when they are together. That's a beautiful metaphor of understanding to allow us to shift our mental paradigm about saying, hey, it is okay for Montsho to be he. It is okay for Nawasha to be she. But when I put my lock in that, when I put my key into her lock, we become a we that if we function properly, we can unlock the door to many mansions, or we can protect our valuables from those things that would threaten it. That's the most beautiful analogy of a relationship that I have ever come to. And so I'm telling y'all, all of this social media bullshit annoys me. Get some real help from some real qualified people. And all you brothers and sisters that's in my age range, I'm going to say from like 45 to 60, we don't even have that much time left, y'all. We don't even have that much time left. I've been to 3 funerals in the last month and a half. We dropping off like flies. Broke my heart to hear of a brother that I know from social media. I don't know him personally, but I know him and his wife, and we feel very bonded and connected to them. A doctor that passed away after a long bout with from just slipping into a coma. I've walked with his wife. Me and Awasha have walked with his wife for the last 2 years and watched her struggle as her vibrant, successful, whatever husband, transformed into this man who she dutifully cared for the last 2 years. But a couple of days ago, he slipped away. And she said that my best friend, a whole part of my life is gone. She's still a very young woman. He was a relatively young man. So this shit is not for play. I went to a funeral of a family member and I listened to the reverend say she fulfilled her promise. She lived 70. That's 70 years old. Do you know in the African science of the 7 sevens, from 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to 28, 28 to 35, 35 to 42, 42 to 49, each one of those 7 years represents something. Well, I know about the first 7, but they actually go up to 10 till you're 70 years old. And it is at that time in African culture that you were confirmed as an adult. In other words, what I'm saying is you have to always look at the standard that you're judging something from. The reason we always talk about culture, because the white man lives in your mind and you don't even know it. If you under 70 years old in African culture, you're not even an adult. You couldn't even have children until you were 70 years old. And for those that think I'm bugging, you could go on Dr. Phil and watch a show of some black people from India where the man is over 70 and the woman is 70 years old and they got pregnant and had a child. So don't tell me it's not possible. If you believe it's not possible, then you don't really believe your scriptures, whatever scripture you read, because they all tell you how long we used to live and they tell you that that's possible. The human bodies that you're seeing today are very different than the way they used to be before. And they're not stronger or better, as many would have you believe in biology class. They're actually weaker. And so we lived much longer than we do now. And you weren't emotionally or psychologically or culturally ready to have children until you received the grand initiatory experience that you would finish at 70 years old. Now, you could take that or leave it alone. I'm not even trying to defend it, because most of you don't even have the cultural initiation reference to even know what I'm talking about. But I am telling you, we are dying, and especially the men, because we don't have emotional balance. We live in hard lives. We're living at war. And most of us have war in the world, and then we got war in our homes. The only time you at peace is in the bathroom, on the toilet, when you're reading books, or if you're watching the game, or if, the 5 minutes of pleasure that you having when you're having sex. That's really like the only times in your life that you ain't at war. And nobody can live at war and live for a long time. War takes your life, period. That's what it does. So if you're living at war and your life is warfare, you're going to live way shorter than you would. And this is why we're dying so much earlier than our women. And even when we're living, we're dying the worst death because we're the walking dead. So I am telling you, stop this bullshit, brothers, if you want it, sisters, if you want it. It doesn't matter who's on it. Don't give more than you receive. Find the people you're giving to, and then find another group of people who can give to you at the high level of value that you represent. Your life has a calling on it. You are unique on this planet. There is nobody else born in this time or space with the life purpose that you have. And the sad, sad thing is most of us die and never even know what our life purpose is. So if you want to turn that around, we are one of a serious option. Don't lump us in with these other people out here that's talking relationship shit and healing shit. They don't know what they talking about, and they don't have no proof of really transforming. Not all of them. There's a lot of good ones out there. But I'm talking about the lion's share of them, because this the new hustle now. Everybody's a healer, right? That's the new hustle now. It's like Oat Brand or some shit from back in the day. Like whatever comes out, everybody's a healer. If a person is talking to you about relationships, you turn to them and say, listen, my sister, listen, my brother, tell me about your relationship. How long has it lasted? What are some of the challenges that you came up across? How did you do that? Now, in Western psychology, they tell you, oh, no, that's stuff of the law. You just divert that. You know what I mean? Don't let a client talk to you about you. You're not the reason we're here. I understand that. I get that, and I understand the truth in that. But at the same time, I understand why an intelligent being would want to clarify who is in front of me talking to me about what they're talking about. What qualifies them really? Because we all could go to school. You know how many people got business degrees that's in debt? You know how many people who went to school and got degrees? We got advanced degrees. They in debt. They in, you know what I'm saying? You know how many people who study, you could study anything. That doesn't mean, and you can meet the requirements that a syllabus lays before you, and you can get you could get that certification bestowed upon you, but that doesn't mean that you're a real and true manifestator of the science that you're talking about. This is why in scriptural times, all of the movers were unlettered men. Because to all my academics, you get information, but what comes implicit in that information is the disgusting cultural arrogance of the white man. I don't know an exception ever. Everybody that I know with a PhD and down, they have that energy. They have that arrogant energy, and they begin to elevate themselves from the masses of the people. This and they are what I call shakers. They take their arrogant verbal masturbation, empirical study, and all of these cause and effect sciences that they use, peer-reviewed articles and all of this other bullshit that ain't helped black people in 500 years. And they start to think that they have answers, but everybody else is just not on the elevated level that they're on to get the answers. They're what I call a shaker. They like to shake stuff up. They like to say shocking things and do different things. They nothing but a shaker. A mover, though, can move the people from where they are to where they want to be. They have salient, real solutions that are not based in their personality. So the work that we're putting out, whether it's the Black Love School, whether it's our counseling services, whether it's our consultations, whether it's the many books that we have written and published, and the ones that we are working on, they are going to last long after we die. And you'll be able to pick them up 200 years from now and still find some truth in them. Why? Because we don't own the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we're sharing. It's just being channeled through us, through the line of destiny, and we are charged with sharing it. When we're gone, it will still exist, right? We didn't own it. It was here before we got here, and it will be here after. So if you want to become a real God, if you're using the Danish word God, you need to be a generator, an operator, and a destroyer. But the operative word is an operator. In the middle, the O, represents the ability to take truth, to apply it, transform it, and then move it on. To build anything, you have to destroy something. If you're building a beautiful house, you got to destroy the ground in order to make the foundation sound, and many other things. To get the bricks and the steel and the metals and all the other things, you got to destroy something. But anybody can destroy something. Some people can build things. But to be an operator is to have answers before problems arise. You can only get that through training. You cannot get that through making it up. So if anything that I'm saying is making sense to you and you would like to take it further, reach out. And I promise you, it's not me. It's the light that's being channeled through me and Nawasha and my wife and our training. We are only master teachers because of the grand master teachers that have taught us. And they are only grand masters because the elders and gods that have taught them. And so we're all going through the line of divine. You got to have balance, y'all. You got to give and receive. And to just be a giver, actually, in real talk, is just being a taker. So on that, I'm going to close and greet y'all in the eternal words of Black love and say, Ni Akoma, Montsho Idu, the Akoma House Initiative, culturally based counseling and consulting. Get with us. The Black Love School and Relationship Education, Ni Akoma Hotep.